Just got back from the lake house, and there was a storm that came through. We got moisture, guys. We got more moisture out of it. But there's a problem. Neighbors up north said they got hailed out. Like, a lot of acres hailed out. So, I don't want to do it, but it's just one of those things that I gotta figure out how much damage did it cause on our land. So let's just see what we got for rain. Oh, a little over 1/4 inch here at the farm. Now, as I go north, it's gonna get more rain because that's where the storm was. There's no hail damage here on the farmyard, but here's other damage. Nothing crazy, but you know, still damage. Let's go crop scouting, guys. Hopefully good things. Here is the first stuff that I seeded spring wheat with, and overall, it's short. It's not really that tall. The headers are gonna be basically scratching the ground to get all the heads, because as it matures, it's gonna start shrinking a little bit. Even though it's this tall, it's probably about 1.5 feet to 18 inches tall, and I would say it's gonna shrink probably 6 inches or 8 inches in some areas, because it's gonna take all that it can to fill the heads, which means it's gonna shrink itself down to shove as much nutrients and everything up and fill those heads. But overall, the heads look pretty good. If you look at that, it's not a huge, amazing head, but it's gonna fill the whole entire head. What we see out here is what it's gonna be. So I would say at this point, if I had to guess, this is probably gonna be 25 bushel. The very first stuff that we seeded, maybe 25 bushels. It could be more, it could be less, and it's really hard to judge until you're actually out in the field chopping away. But overall, this looks good. There's no hail damage here. Not concerned about it one bit. Now that we looked at that spring wheat field, let's go take a look at some barley. Now granted, there's different stages in when we planted our fields. So that first stuff is gonna be the ripest of all. Last stuff that we seeded will definitely not be as ripe as that, and here's the pros and cons, guys. The first stuff we seeded, it had a better start, but then it was running out of moisture and it wasn't able to fill the head. So then it started pinching it off and reducing. Well, then when it got the rain, it was at a stage where it basically said, I can't make any more kernels on the head, I'll just fill them out. So that's just what you have. The later stuff we seeded actually might be better off, because what happens is it wasn't able to be stressed as much at the very beginning, and it got rain later on, which it was still at a younger stage, and it can produce more kernels and more bushels. So it's potential. Not saying that's the way it's going to be, but there's a pros and cons to both. So we're at the barley field right here that was planted fairly early, and I'll be honest, guys, just looking at it, I'm impressed. I'm very impressed, because it was bluing when I got back, and I saw pictures and there was no heads and it was just drying up. There's not a lot of material out here, but there's quite a head. I don't know what really I'm looking at for barley, because, well, I've never harvested barley on our farm, never planted barley, and this is the first stop that I've been a part of. But overall, it's looking like there's gonna be bushels out there. Maybe not to the extent that we're hoping, but we're more than blessed to have this, and hopefully it doesn't get hailed on. This stuff doesn't look like it's hailed on, so it looks pretty good, guys. Let's go take a look at some of the other crops. I got to one of our canola fields, and there's a little bit of spray damage here from our neighbors that drifted over. You know what? We drift on him, he drifts on us. We say we're sorry, he says we're sorry. We don't mean to, he doesn't mean to, it just, the wind picks up and drifts it. So, but saying that, the canola is almost done flowering. There's still flowers out there, so it's still gonna produce, but there is a lot of pods on this thing. And I would say the rain that we got, it's gonna fill out fairly well, I would imagine. There's no hail damage here, so that's good. To tell you the truth, I don't think any of our canola has gotten hail around the farmyard, but up north we have spring wheat, we have peas, and we have barley. So we're gonna have to go inspect that and see what it looks like. But it looks pretty good for the most part. Yeah. Now I'm coming up on the peas, and it's looking pretty yellow, but I still see a bunch of green patches in it. I would say at this point, and it all depends on what we get for heat, if it's pretty hot days and hot nights, it's gonna really mature quickly. And we might be the end of this week, but if it stays somewhat cool and not really too hot during the day, I would say probably next week we'll be cutting peas. Now the peas are really short, but there's a lot of pods on these. Oh my goodness. Now I don't know if this is going to be the way all across the whole entire farm, what they look like, but we're looking at, just to give an average, okay, this one's got 5 peas to a pod. This one's got 2 massive big ones. 3, 5, 5. So we're anywhere from, I would say 2 to 6 peas per pod is what it's kind of looking like. Just judging this, I would say we're gonna get 15 bushel out of this field here. It could be more, but I don't know. The problem why I don't want to say more is our headers have to really drag the ground. And as we're dragging the ground, there's still gonna be pods down below that we can't quite grab. And there's not enough material here that it's gonna pull everything into the header. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna be cutting down the ground. Some of the pods are gonna roll off the canvas and go on the ground, and you're gonna lose that. Or you can't get the ones that are basically right off the ground growing. So I would say, to be safe, minimum 10, probably about 15 bushels on this field. But it looks pretty darn good. I'll be honest, it's looking really good, just really short. A bunch of green ones still in here, so yeah, I would say at least next week sometime for sure. And tasty. Good for the soul too. That looks good. Let's keep checking. Ooh. This isn't looking good. Oh my. I think I'm just on the edge of the storm. So this is called Kovacs. We got a building over here with 2 bins, and it's hailed. I mean, there's still heads out there, but they are damaged. If I had to say, probably 80% hail damage, probably closer to 90%. And this is just on the edge of it. And we've got 300 acres here and almost 300 acres down that way. And I'm just starting to venture into where the storm hit. That's not good. It's depressing. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's definitely not what I wanted to see today. I actually was dreading coming out here and crop scouting because, you know, you put all this time and effort in, and, you know, it's just, but it is what it is. This is, farming's gambling. Oh my. That's not looking good, guys. Just starting to get on the edge of the storm, and it's not looking good. This here, if I had to guess and give a percentage of how much is hailed down, I would say this is probably 80%, maybe 90%, if not 100% completely toast. It's just shattered the heads, it's laying down. It's not looking good, guys. Oh, that is rather depressing, but you know, it is what it is. This is 100% loss. You can't do anything about this. Oh my. There was quite a few peas out here. You can just see them on the ground. Flattened it. This is toast. I don't want to show you guys what we have to deal with, but at the same time too, I want you guys to know this is part of what we deal with. I mean, you strive to do the best that you can, and you might have everything perfect. You did everything perfect. But you know what? You can't predict the weather. And you throw a bunch of money, I mean a bunch of money, to try to grow these crops. And you're hoping to at least get that money back and make more on top so you can pay for other expenses and things. When things like this happen, it's depressing because there's so much potential out there and it's just gone. You can't recover it. So those peas they're done. Let's find out. I bet you up north is going to look even worse. The pea crops, any hail right now is just going to destroy them, and because they're getting close to ripening it up and almost being ready for harvest. The spring wheat and barley, I think, will recover better, but it's still pretty damaged. Okay, drove up north further, and these peas don't look like they got hailed real bad. If not, I don't know if they even got hailed, but I think what it was is, I think it was just so much rain and the amount of wind, and it just pelted it, and it's leaning over. There's kernels on the ground. It's not excessive, but we could probably scrape the ground here and we'll get some peas off of it, or it's at a point where it's not even worth trying to do anything about it. But I would say this is probably 30% hail. But as I'm going closer north, it kind of looks like the storm just did spots. Like it started to hail and then let up, and then it looked pretty decent and hail, and so it's just it's not one big band. It's just kind of spotty on the fields that I'm checking. I'm still very grateful for what we have. I mean, we got rain that will help some of the other crops grow, and I'd rather take this hail and rain mixture to try to grow something than no rain at all, because we wouldn't even have anything to cut if it didn't rain a little bit ago. So you know what, there's a positive thing in this and there's negative things in it, so it's still discouraging, guys. To be honest, it's hard to see, but we're not the only ones in this. Many other people that are in the exact same boat. This doesn't look too good either. This got pretty toasted. It's possible, but I'm gonna not cross my fingers. This stuff here, it got hailed, but it's kind of sitting a little higher off the ground. It's not completely flattened. You might be able to take your header and scrape it up and harvest it. But if I had to say, you'll probably only gain maybe 6 bushels an acre, if that. Not even probably that. I mean, that's not looking too good. Sorry about all the bad news. I mean, but you know, that's just part of how it is. So this is right across the road from those peas I looked at, and it wasn't just heavy rain, it definitely was hail. I couldn't tell on those peas because they're so viney, but this is looking pretty bad. At least 60%, 70%. At least that. Well, I crossed the interstate. This is the farthest field to the west, or not the farthest field, I'm going to the farthest field. And this is barley here, and it is, well, this here is a little bit of chemical damage, I should say, from the neighbor over here. I can tell it's drifted over some, but there's hail here. And as I walk out further, I mean, this part's not bad. There's still some crop here. Right against the interstate, I would say it's probably 80%. About a quarter mile in, it starts getting better, like where I'm at right now, which is 30%, 40% damage. It's hurt, but there's still crop here. Hopefully, as I go that way, it'll get better and better and better. We didn't even get hammered like some of the other neighbors I hear. I heard they had golf ball size hail. And oh man, whew, take a deep breath, breathe. Well, it looks like that our farthest piece over here across the interstate, looks like it didn't get hit. So on this side of the interstate, on the very edge, the barley, it was starting to open up, and that's where the storm started hitting, and then it just started going that direction. So far, everything in this direction looks to be good. And there's quite a bit of wheat out here and barley, so that'll help make up for what we lost, but at the same time too, we lost quite a bit. At least this is saved over here. This is good. I spoke too soon. The field that I looked at just right over there looked fine. It missed it, but took out this field here. This is 100%, easily 100%. This is barley right here. We'll go down to the spring wheat field and we'll know. Wow. Guys, we're taking a big hit this year. It's gonna hurt. This was spring wheat. And this is this is actually the last spring wheat we seeded. And I was hoping, there's kernels all over the ground. I was hoping that this stuff here was able to produce a lot of kernels, but it's gone. The whole thing is just, and the barley over here, that's toast. Oh, so discouraging. Okay. Just to show you guys how windy and crazy the storm was. Here's a tree on a farm that has been here for many, many years, and it's not looking so good. Yeah, there's that. Anyways, you know, I'm discouraged, don't get me wrong. I truly am. And it's okay to be discouraged. It is. What's not okay is to act upon it and to make it change how you perceive life or how you go about. It happened. God's more than good. He'll give us what we need and what we deserve, and we'll still make it. It'll work out. But I'd say 2/3, if not 3/4 of the farm got hammered pretty good, so that sucks. But what can you do? Now, I'm going to show you where the hail did not hit. This whole section right here did not get hit by hail. All of that got consumed by hail. A lot of it's okay in some cases where it'll still turn to crop. The rest of it is basically toast. That field's probably the worst. That one's probably the worst on this end. And yeah. Okay guys, we have a very special guest that showed up to the farm here today, and he brought a toy that he built and designed, and it is very epic. I know you guys will appreciate this because, well, I appreciate it. So let's check this thing out. Tell us a little about what inspired you and why did you
So we come from a country where there's not many buds, but I have 5 grandsons, and my 8-year-old grandson I restored tractors for the other 4. He come up to me one day and says, "Grandpa, I don't want no bud, I don't want no mullein, I want a big bud." And I said, "That's a lot of work, I don't think we can do that." A year later we got the idea from these guys because they were restoring a bud on YouTube. I said, "I think we can do it." And I went to go see my good friend David Nelson from Losses Manufacturing. He said, "We'll help you." So here it is. This is the end product, 2.5 years later.
Let me ask you this question. Did you pick a favorite with your grandson? Because it sure sounds like he picked a favorite, because That's a pretty sweet
tell my
toy.
grandson that though. You're right.
So you just happen to have a few hours on your spare time to just build something like this?
Build that night. Most of the time or on weekends we'd come and fuss with it, figure out, go home and do some research again and go back and make some more parts for it then. Tear it down. We made it out of cardboard. We actually have a piece of cardboard that we did it for size perspective.
I'll be honest, guys, he sounds like a big butt owner. You're always fabricating, always engineering, doing something different, working on them. Like that's a big butt owner right there. He's legit, guys. This is awesome.
This is the 3-cylinder Yamaha motor. It's 23 horse. It come out of a commercial lawnmower from a junkyard. I asked the guy, what should I do? And he said we should have them. So that's what we did.
So you got a 3-cylinder diesel in this thing, and the powertrain on it, it's not actually...
It's hydrostatic.
It's hydrostatic.
Yep.
So basically this guy did a lot of research and trying to make this thing as much as he could to a big bud. So the question I have for you is, can we use this for seeding next year?
Yes,
or this fall?
Bring it up here. We'll have our own seeder made for it.
Yes, yes. That is awesome. Even leg arms can fit in this thing. Come on. This is awesome. Okay. He tells me it's like driving a Cadillac, but I don't know if I trust him on that. Yes, they can be friends. I think they're gonna be best friends. Absolutely.